Hey guys, truth be told, this video was overdue. I was supposed to do it last year, so, well, less than a year, but I think it's just because I procrastinated. Some things happened in life, you know, like, yeah, life happened, but it was mostly the procrastination, I admit. So today I'm going to be talking about my experience with this private rental agency called June Homes. They're not available nationwide, they're only available in some states, you know, so where I stayed at was in Boston. That's where the cities it was available in, which was in, like I said, Boston, Massachusetts. So yeah, my experience started all the way in August 2022. I was moving out of Westboro, Massachusetts, and because my parents were moving to Virginia, and I had to stay because of college, you know. And my college, I graduated from Lesley University. It was located in Cambridge. So the first year when I was there, after I transferred, you know, because I transferred there actually, but it was almost an hour commute from Westboro to Cambridge. But after that, with the move and so, I was looking for places that was like last minute, and some were too expensive. And when I saw June Homes, it felt like the right fit for me because of the fact that it wasn't really expensive. So I set up a virtual tour with them, you know, with him, and my dad was in the meeting as well, actually. After I was approved, luckily, I think I was approved like after that virtual tour. Like, I'll try to remember every single thing I can, and I might provide screenshots just saying, but either way, this is all on top of my head from the best of my memory. So I started renting with them, like like talking to them, going through the whole process in August 2022. And so when I moved in, it was, so long story short, I was supposed to actually move to Allston in Boston, but suddenly I was told later on, I don't know when, maybe a week before I was supposed to move in, that like, oh, suddenly that one's not available. It's just being renovated, not available to move into it yet. So they're providing me with a temporary place, and the temporary place was in Brighton, and I moved there instead. I moved there, and I was there, but I was there for a month. But then, like, as I was, you know, staying there throughout the whole month, unfortunately, there has been like, well, before I moved in there, keep in mind, there has been some miscommunication, like some contradicting information from some of the people I was talking to, the people working at June Homes, you know, and like they're telling me that, oh, the room I was supposed to go into is this one, and like the unit is in this one. It was like a house where there was two doors. One takes you to the upper floor with rooms, and then the bottom with rooms. I don't know what that house they call that, but so I went to the one in the bottom, and you know, I went to the room that was supposed to be someone's, and then that I was told the day after that, oh, actually I went to the wrong unit and room. They weren't communicating with me well about it, and I think it's that one person told me it was there, but then the other told me actually it's upstairs. And yeah, so their communication has been very off, you know. It's just not great. So the next day I went and I moved my stuff to, you know, upstairs to the right room. And that's the first issue that happened so far. Well, the first was that the place I was supposed to move into was not available yet, so I had to go to this other one. But then the second issue was the room was wrong and whatever, like that was not the one I was supposed to go to. So that's what happened. But then after I moved in, I was there for like, you know, after I was settled in, and so I, unfortunately, the first issue was that there was no Wi-Fi. So there was no Wi-Fi at all, no router, to the point that I had to desperately, because I had to, like I said, go to T-Mobile and get, I think, like a post-paid Wi-Fi. Like, I mean, a Wi-Fi where I pay for monthly with a SIM card, you know, like a 5G router. So I did that. It's a temporary solution. And after that, later on, suddenly, I think, I don't know, like I was communicating with them back and forth about the Wi-Fi and the things I need, and wait, where is it, and how to get one, or just like, you know what I mean, communicating with them, which not really their strong suit, to be honest. So I was suddenly, I think they told me it was supposed to be a month later, I don't know, but they didn't tell me when he's coming. But suddenly one day I got a guy like, you know, coming and ringing a bell. So I went downstairs and seen him, and he told me that like, oh, June Homes told him to come and like install the router. I was like telling him it was in the morning, you know. I was like, wait, they didn't tell me when you're coming or something, and can I reschedule? And then he said, well, now is the only time available. It's either now or never, you know. There's not going to be a time soon. So I told him, okay, fine, whatever, come in. But yeah, like suddenly he showed up at my door. The Wi-Fi that was supposed to be here earlier, right when I moved in, by the way, suddenly he came, you know. But that's what happened, and he was installing it. And but then the month after, obviously, moved in, I return the router to T-Mobile because it was a temporary thing, and I don't need a Wi-Fi anymore. Why should I pay for it? So anyways, after the whole Wi-Fi situation happened and like, you know, settled, it was solved, they told me before the end of the month that I think the apartment I was supposed to move into suddenly is going to take longer to renovate, and so it's not available yet. But then I don't know, like they were going to give me another one I could choose that's not in Allston, or I think it was in Allston but a different one. And but then I didn't respond on time, and or like there was miscommunication happened that if I wanted this this, and they thought I didn't want it anymore. And it's like, I don't know, it's just in general, that's what it was. You know, it was so confusing, like that I was supposed to go there, but then I didn't. Like, I don't know, there's just a lot of problems, like with communication, like as far as apartment being available or not being done yet. And like, it's just, I think also the fact that the other problem too is, and I forgot to mention this actually earlier, is that right when I first moved in, like the room I was supposed to go to was C, but the bedroom was in B. And it's just like, I don't know, man, like they thought that, like, you know, like when the stuff was in room C and it's like my stuff was already there, and they said they came and they said your stuff was in there, like, do you not want your bed installed there, like do you not want your room furnished? Because I chose a furnished room, by the way, like a furnished apartment. But like, I mean, I don't know, but it was just so bad, you know, like I'm trying to remember everything that happened, but like, and I know that like I can go look over the emails because looking at the emails will help me a lot. Yeah, so like I said, the first issue was that the place I was supposed to move into was not available yet, which is fine, but so they gave me a temporary place. But then I went to the wrong room and unit. The next day, like I was told that, and I had to move the stuff all the way there, but then apparently it was in the wrong room again, but it was in the right unit because I went to B, but I was in C. That's what happened. But, and at the time, you know, the time for the rent cost me, I think, $1,200. You know, that was supposed to be for Alston, but they make me pay more for the one in Brighton. Yeah, there was just miscommunication, like, about what I wanted, and like, which again is not their strong suit. Trust me, it's not at all. And they pull the rug from under you a lot. It's just so annoying. So then, you know, like after the guy finally came to move my bed from room B to C, all the stuff that was supposed to be in C, so he did that. And after, you know, I was settled in and moved in after the whole Wi-Fi issue happened, unfortunately, and the beds, so I finally was staying there comfortably, you know. But another issue though that happened is that later on, in the end of the month, they told me like, oh, actually it's not available anymore. So they gave me another listing I can move to. I think it was still in Alston. Didn't respond on time, which I didn't know I had to, but then suddenly it wasn't available anymore. But then, like I said, the place wasn't ready yet. Then, oh, suddenly, actually, now it's ready. And like, I mean, I don't know, but I was overwhelmed and I was in college and I was like, I can't focus on that. I had to focus on my assignments and my classes, and it was just so much. It was a lot. So, you know, like the communication was just, I don't know, it was stressful and whatever. But then because of that, you know, the help of to force them into a lawsuit, I have a friend, she's a mom of a friend who's actually a lawyer. You know, she helped me with this and like helped me out with this whole thing, and I tried to like threaten them with a lawsuit and whatever, and telling them they violated so many things in the contract. And then they decided to then later on, for so many reasons, like compensate me for the money by reducing me the rent. Because like before I moved into the one in Brighton, keep in mind, I actually stayed in a hotel, you know. My mom was helping me move, just so you know. Thank you, Mom, so much. I like taking off, yeah. She had to then leave to Virginia, of course, because to be with my dad. She was supposed to be with him, but she stayed to help me. Again, thank you so much, Mom. And so we were in a hotel for so many times, and it was annoying because like the place wasn't ready yet, so that's the issue. We were like Airbnb and hotel. Well, I was in Airbnb, but then we were in a hotel, 3 hotels for I think a total of a week. You know, when I was in the Airbnb, she was staying with a friend for I think 2 days, but the whole thing was a week, you know. And then I finally moved in, and then she helped me, and then she left after I settled in and everything was good, you know. And then the whole listing thing happened that I wasn't ready to move in yet, so I had to go check the listing myself, and they said it was ready. They weren't supposed to move into already. But when I went and checked, the place just didn't look great for me. It was ready, but I wasn't comfortable to move in there. So I was like, you know what, forget it. Like when I went to look at the place to confirm it's actually ready, and just to see how it is for myself, if I'm comfortable moving there, you know, if I like it. When I checked it out, it wasn't as great as the one in Brighton. So ultimately then, after that, I decided to move into Brighton. And you know, the rent cost me I think like $300 more, which is honestly worth it. It's fine. It cost me more. I rather do that because like the parking there is better and easier, and it's free. The place in Brighton was more spacious, if you know what I mean. It was better in general as far as space goes and parking. I don't know, like there's just so many things good about it. But now that's done. So the whole story happened, you know, back in August 2022. That's when I was moving because my parents were moving to Virginia. My dad went and my mom stayed to help me move, but I was looking at places to rent from in Boston, like close to Lesley University, which is where I went to school, you know. The first year after I transferred there, I was commuting from Westboro to Cambridge for almost an hour. So I moved because my parents were moving, so I had to obviously go to Boston and live there. But I was looking at places like options, and so the option like that was good enough for me because of the price was June Homes. I did a virtual tour with them, and my dad was in the meeting. Everything seemed great, you know, not really a problem. But after that, you know, I was ready to move. But the problem is, they said after that, like, oh, suddenly that the place wasn't ready to move into it yet. They're gonna give me a temporary place that I could move into starting in September, not in August anymore, by the way, but it was in Brighton that they gave me, but the one I was supposed to move into originally was in Alston. The first 2 days, I think I was in an Airbnb. My mom staying with a friend. I stayed in an Airbnb in Shrewsbury, and she was in Westboro with her friend. But after that, we stayed in 3 hotels together, actually, and the whole thing was like a total of a week. That's how long it was. But then after that, after I was ready to move there, like I took my stuff there to move, and I went to, apparently, which is annoying, the wrong unit and the wrong room. They told me I took someone's room the next day because like they weren't communicating well, and they said yes, it was this one, but it was not. And then so the next day I moved into the other unit. Like it's like a house but with 2 units, if you know what I mean, but one that's upstairs and then one that's downstairs but different doors. So yeah, that's what happened the next day, and it was frustrating, honestly. But then me and my mom decided to stay in the 3rd hotel just because we weren't comfortable yet, to be honest, that I'm ready to move there, but then like suddenly it's not ready yet, the room. Like I just, their communication is bad. That's what it was. And you know, but then after that, after she helped me move, my mom left to Virginia. She was supposed to go with my dad, but she was helping me move. That's why she stayed, of course. And but then that's what happened. I went to the one in Brighton, but there were some issues before the move-in, which is annoying, especially because of their communication, and their communication is not their strong suit, trust me. But after moving in, the issues unfortunately happened where there was no Wi-Fi and there was no laundry. Like the laundry machines were broken, that to the point I had to go to a laundromat. So in the time being, and also the Wi-Fi, I had to get a temporary router, like I mean get a 5G router from T-Mobile. So I did that, you know, I went to T-Mobile and I got one. But unfortunately later on, like a week or 2 later, suddenly a guy came to me, like came and rang the doorbell, said like June Holmes told him to come and like set up the Wi-Fi, and I told him they didn't tell me when you were coming, and like can this be rescheduled? He said, well, it's now or never, like there's no time later. And I told him, well, okay, fine, whatever, you know, I told him okay, fine, and I let him in. And it's not his fault, of course, but it's the fact that how June Holmes was, it was annoying. Like they didn't tell me when, and the fact that I wasn't there to begin with, it's like, yeah, like June Holmes from the beginning, like in the beginning, they were not reliable at all, you know, like their communication and like the fact that these things were not provided yet, like come on. But after the whole Wi-Fi thing was settled, the laundry also, I think, was then they came and installed the machines after I moved in by maybe 2 weeks, I think, something like that. So the Wi-Fi and the laundry, I think, happened around the same week, actually. But and then after that, you know, they said in the end of the month, end of September, because I moved in the first week, they said that like, oh, the place was not available anymore, or I think that it was still being renovated, and they told me, they gave me this other option to look into. And when I didn't respond on time because I didn't know I had to, suddenly it wasn't available anymore, and it was so frustrating. It's like, you're telling me it's available, now it's not, and like that place is still not done for renovation. Like it was frustrating, so frustrating. Yeah, that's what happened. And after they said later on that the place was done, the one in Alston, I decided to go look for myself to see if it's actually done and to see if I like it enough, you know, just if I'm comfortable moving there. So I went there to see, and it was ready, but it wasn't as great, you know. It just like, it was okay and not really for me. So I decided to ultimately stay in Brighton. You know, my dad agreed with me, yeah, I should stay in Brighton instead, even though it was going to cost me more, like $300 more, but in the end I did that, and it was a better choice, you know, good for me in the long run. Like that's the better choice. It just, yeah, like it was a lot, you know, like with the move, how it was in the beginning until the end, and then with the whole renovation and like not being done yet, and it's just so many stressful things, and they cost me because of that, you know. They cost me so much money with the hotel and whatever, but that was solved with a friend of mine, you know. I knew her son first, like it was my friend, but then like, so I know her through her son, but I consider her a friend too now, you know. She's his mom, and she's a lawyer, so yeah, the only thing they did was reduce the rent, and that's what they did. Yeah, and by the way, and so how they work is just saying they rent by rooms, not by like, you know, that you share the rooms. So if you have a roommate, it doesn't reduce the cost like how it usually is. No, it's they charge per room, not per unit, if you know what I mean. Even if you share the space, there, no, like unfortunately it doesn't reduce the price if you have a roommate. Yeah, and speaking of roommates, so how it works is that like you don't get to choose whether you want to have a roommate or not, you know. Like if the unit is available, they rent it to them actually. So that's what they do, they rent it to them, and then they tell me like days, not a week by the way, days in advance over email that this person is moving in. Like, oh, I'm gonna have a roommate at this time, and then the day after they move in, they say hello to your new roommate, and then they put their name. But it's out of your control whether you want a roommate or not. And again, it doesn't reduce the cost unfortunately, but whatever. I was alone for the first 2 months, and my first roommate ever he moved in late October. I forgot what day exactly, but I think it was the 28th of October actually when he moved in. So, but after that, you know, the whole moving in and all of that, there's still still other issues like their communication and just their reliability, unfortunately. And I should have said this in the beginning, but my whole journey started, by the way, from September 2022, well, August 2022, but I lived there in September 2022 with them until June 2024. You know, I was supposed to leave before June 2024, but then like I decided to extend the lease, and so ultimately I did that. You know, I was supposed to leave by I think March, because that's when the lease ended, but I extended 3 months, and then I left there. In the end of June I left. So, with that being said, the many issues I've had with June Homes, do I recommend it? Personally, not. I feel like if, you know, you can avoid it, you honestly should. I feel like it's equally good, also equally bad. Like, how I would describe them is that they're not communicated, like their communication is bad. The rug couldn't be pulled from under you easily, and I don't know, it's just, yeah, that's how it is. Only I would consider it if it's your last option, like if you really can't afford the regular prices, like the average prices of rent, and if you want the flexible lease options, you know, because they offer 3, 6, and 12 months. So at least that's good. What I like is the cost and the lease options. That's really it, honestly, for why I recommend June Homes. Those are the only reasons, personally. You know, at least from what I can think of, you know, the reasons. But still, I would not recommend them other than that. So yeah, so throughout my whole experience, I've had, you know, roommates that come and go, but I've only had one roommate that was consistent to me, that stayed with me from October until June 2024. He was the only one that stayed, but other ones have come and go, just saying. So, but yeah, unfortunately, like, they don't live up to what they say as far as, like, you know, what they provide for amenities, and they don't, like, oh, get you toilet paper, you know, or paper towels, you have to buy it yourself, and then, oh, if you, even though they do charge you for it, but then you have to, with the June Homes app, you submit a ticket if you have any issues with the listing or roommates, just anything in general, you know, if you need service. And but then, like, if you buy anything that, like, they would cover for usually and should, then you submit a ticket and show them the receipt, what you bought and how much, and then they'll reduce it from the rent. You know, they reduce the rent for next month. And yeah, and then also sometimes you get a lot of emails that are like out of order, family, like that, oh, it was supposed to be this, but it wasn't that, like it was supposed to, this was supposed to happen, but actually not. And you know, like, it's almost like a false alarm, if you know what I mean. That's what happens too, you know, like I already said. And trust me, their communication is not their strong suit. They're not reliable with communication. Like, you don't know what's true, what's not, and it's just so confusing, to be honest with you. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Like, that's just how it is with them, you know? Like, sometimes you feel like you can't take their word for it. You have to see proof, and you have to, like, kind of, like, threaten them with, like, telling them, oh, I'm gonna talk to my lawyer, or I'm gonna call the police if you do this and that. Like, I don't know. Just, that's how it was for me the first 2 months with June Homes. And it's just so annoying, or at least the first month, you know? Maybe not the first 2, but yeah, it's just so annoying how they are, and, like, they can be very overwhelming, and they really stress you out, and especially because, you know, I have anxiety and autism and, well, depression too. Just saying, just for context, that it was so overwhelming that if you have any mental issues, whether it's severe or not, it can overwhelm you and you don't feel relaxed. And that's why I feel like if you go to a regular apartment, it's better because you have total freedom and you don't have to worry at all about whether you're gonna have a roommate or not and what can happen unexpectedly. Yeah, so that's why I do recommend that over just like June Homes. June Homes should be your last resort, personally, you know? And I think June Homes in general is a company that people have mixed feelings towards. There's going to be mixed reviews, and people who experienced with them will have mixed feelings towards it. Like, every individual will have good and bad feelings towards June Homes. That's what I mean. So yeah, and what they usually do is once a month, I think just once a month, they would come and do cleaning. You know, whether you schedule it or not, that's what they do. They come in for cleaning. You get an email and I think a ticket, like, notification if you have the June Homes app, that the cleaning crew will come and clean your apartment, your place. So to reiterate, with June Homes, like how it was my experience, and I think that's how it is in general with everyone, like that's how they are. I mean, when you rent with them, they rent through a place, like they, I think, make a deal with a landlord that they want to use this place to rent. That's what they do. And then, you know, they just charge per rooms. You use the June Homes app to submit tickets and whatever it is. Like, if you have issues, yeah, when you have a roommate, like the roommate's thing is not optional whether you want to have one or not, and it doesn't reduce the cost of rent, you know, not like how it is usually if, you know, you go to a regular apartment. They have a cleaning crew that comes, I think, just once a month. Usually, from my experience, like, amenities are not provided. They didn't really provide one, you know, but what they would do is, if what they can do for you and will, is if you buy them, you submit a ticket, show them the receipt, and then, you know, able to reduce it from next month's rent. And unfortunately, and this is my experience too, is that I feel like sometimes they get to the ticket faster, they don't, as far as, you know, helping you. Like if you have an issue with the place itself, like the laundry machine or whatever, sometimes they do it on time, sometimes they don't, you know, because I've had another issue where the washer, like, was literally not working for a month. I recall there was like water in it and it just can't be used, and it had to be drained, and it was like a month, and it was so annoying, you know. Like even my, obviously, roommates were frustrated too. Like they were so frustrated, and I'm like, what, are you kidding me? I can't believe it. And then like when I told two of them about it, like that they finally fixed it, they were surprised. I was like, you're joking, you're kidding. And it's like, yeah, you know, like I said, they're not that reliable, unfortunately, half of the time. I just feel like, you know, my experience with them in general has been half good, half bad. Half of the time it was good, half the time it was bad. I don't know, but I don't feel like it's good enough that, in my opinion, it should be your primary option and like your first option to rent, to look for places and rent with them, you know. Oh, it should be your last resort if you can't really afford it, like the average price, and if you want, just stay there temporarily, like 3 months or 6 months, because they offer 3, 6, and 12. But with that being said though, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any comments and questions, please leave them down below in the comment section. And yeah, I really hope it was helpful. Okay, that's really it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care. Bye.